Come one, come all, and gather around. Today, we have an update from Colossal Order on Cities Skylines 2. Not just any old random one, but finally, a most anticipated update on modding and further progress in the game. With time cards below, let's jump in. But first, a word from this section's sponsor, Gilded Destiny. Gilded Destiny have just launched a Kickstarter campaign for their absolutely ginormous and ambitious grand strategy game that you can read all about below. Essentially, this is the grandest of grand. A world with over 1 million different tiles and lots of different decisions. Political intrigue, trade, technology, modding even awaits. So why not? Check it out on Steam. Give them a wish list. It's a great support. And of course, check out that limited time Kickstarter campaign below. Thank you, Aquila Interactive, for sponsoring that section of the video. Now let's talk Cities 2. And as you gather around, I have to start this by saying, I believe, unfortunately, whatever they had cooking last week, whatever prevented them from providing a Word of the Week update, we believed it might have been this week's one, is frankly underbaked. I don't think this was left in the oven long enough. Ultimately, though, I'll let you be the judge. So, let's take a look. They open by talking about the editor, and they kind of express a focus on creators or creativity. They say, today we're talking about modding support. The editor has been in the works, and they've shared some versions with a closed group, a few select modders for feedback. They say they're fortunate to have that group. People are eager to try experimental solutions and certainly voice their opinions on them, and gathering that feedback helps to improve the tool, as you might expect. They ended by saying that they were surprised by modders in Cities in Motion and Cities Skylines the first, and that basically they've stopped trying to guess what people might want to do or achieve and instead decided to focus on directly asking those who are creating how they can support their efforts. At face value, of course, this is all perfectly fine, a reasonable introduction. Next, they share some slightly more specific detail on the kind of credentials of their collaboration. They say collaboration with the closed group has been going on behind the scenes for months now. Together, they've put a lot of effort into the beta version of modding tools. They can't wait to share them. They believe that modding is a pivotal part of the experience with Cities Skylines, and they want to encourage everyone to be as creative as they can. Okay, all still sounding reasonably fine, but still lacking the kind of concrete update that I think we might expect. Next, they talk a little bit about how they'd like to, in my opinion, kind of front-load the assets, front-load this thing with stuff. This, alternatively, could be a nice way to spin the situation where they've landed. Nonetheless, they say that as they're preparing for the public release with support for code modding and the map editor, Paradox is running a broader early access for modders and creators chosen from the sign-up that we've talked about on this channel. There was a Google Doc Drive thing or something that you could sign up to earlier this year. This gives creators the early opportunity to give direct feedback on using Paradox mods. That's the platform where mods will officially be distributed. Alongside that, they'll also get access to the new modding toolchain and the map editor. They say they're looking forward to seeing feedback and having the first code mods, maps, and save games uploaded to the platform and ready for us as that platform goes live. This is all to support the quest, they say, of making sure we have a robust start when the tools are released. And this is a good opportunity to test Paradox mods as well. They conclude by saying that they'll be sharing more information on each part. That's Paradox mods, the platform, code modding, and map editing later on, so you'll know what to expect. Making those parts individual, sharing more information on each part, I wonder if this means there'll be many of these kinds of introductions as we move forward, instead of them being targeted specifically when they're releasing a patch. We'll have to wait and see on that one. Moving on to the penultimate paragraph, and frankly the meatiest one of today's update. Arguably the only part that really addresses the status of modding, rather than their, say, philosophy or approach toward it. They say, quote, "I would like to emphasize again that there is still a lot of work still to be done." That's a double still. asset editing is not in a shape or form to be used as is. We'll still need more time to make importing the assets work, end quote. They then go on to talk about the region packs that we discussed here on this channel as recently as this time last week. They say the region packs teased at the end of last year are bundles of assets of varying sizes and content made by some of your favorite creators from the community. These assets rely on us finalizing the asset editor to a point where we're happy that the import pipeline and saving will be in a future-proof state. This is an ongoing effort, alongside improving the code modding and map editing based on the feedback we receive from the early access and eventually from all of you. We have dedicated devs working on the modding support, eager to tackle bugs and implement improvements, so we'll keep patching the tools throughout the public beta phase until we have modding 1.0 available. Naturally, the work will continue even past that as we receive more feedback and suggestions from you. And then just to quickly tidy off what we've got here before arguably I might provide something more useful, they round out this update by saying that creators and modders of City Skylines brought so much cool, innovative content they can't wait to see what will come up within 2. They also acknowledge the existence of mods already, granted in sort of a third-party, somewhat informal, but in my experience, fairly well-working state. They say, quote, "There are already some exciting mods and beautiful maps out there. Yes, we see you. And it will be very exciting to see what you create with the added support," end quote. The question, though, about that added support that wasn't answered in this update that's been cooking for 2 weeks was actually when, right? I mean, there's a lot of perhaps good discussion here. At the very least, there's a lot of discussion, but no real emphasis on specifics. If I were to summarize what I've just read really quickly, the quick and dirty here is, we love to see what you create. We want to enable you to create as best as you can by working with you directly to figure out how this works and what kind of supports you might need. We've got a few different groups going, we're testing it out, working on Paradox mods as well, our proper platform. And once all of this stuff comes together, the map editor, modding support, then yeah, we'll start rolling it out to all of you and you can all give feedback. But man, there is still a lot of work to be done and it's not working as it stands right now. And while that quick summary of mine might be all fine and good, it doesn't really drill down into what I had hoped and anticipated that this would have been today. That's just my honest view. But there are a few things that I want to leave you with, a few important things. The first thing to remember is that they've said many times that the console version won't be releasing without a slightly stripped down but still existing kind of modding, editing, code editing, minus that part, suite. Some kind of extra creative tools. Those tools will release with the console version. Therefore, the console version is probably not coming anytime soon. Secondly, and in another slightly out of date bit of news, but the most concrete timeline you'll get from Developer Diary, a word of the week, I should say, number 9, that released earlier this year on the 22nd of January, they did at least give some vague timeline that a public beta version of code modding and Paradox mods will be available in the live build of the game by the end of this month, the end of March. A public beta version of the map editing will be available soon after. Asset editing to be announced once technical issues are sorted. And finally, they'll continue to work on modding support, get it out of beta during the Finnish fall, which is of course not necessarily a sort of a universally understood way of describing time. That is fall in the northern hemisphere, alternatively known as autumn if you're more sophisticated. And of course, for those of us in the southern hemisphere, that would be our spring. ultimately, it's probably sometime around October-ish, broadly speaking, and perhaps coincidentally, around 1 year after Cities Skylines 2 first released. Ultimately though, and using recent history as my guide, my level of confidence is low that this timeline will be met. Not only because of it's now, a few months old, but also because it wasn't reintroduced today, and today would have been the perfect time to do that. And that, my friends, is all of the concrete information that I can give you, because that is, as far as I'm aware, all that we have. Thank you for joining me in today's video, an update from Colossal Order on modding and the creative potential of Cities Skylines 2. Let me know how you felt about it below, and I'll see you next time.